Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Issei X Raynare X Kalawarner. Before I start, please do support for more awesome content and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the JCT1345 for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. Let's start this video. Bat-like wings flapped in the cool night air as a young girl gently landed on a quiet sidewalk in a city garden. Locks of crimson red hair fell down, past the girl's shoulders, her entire back, and almost to her knees. She opened her large blue eyes and stretched out her back, bringing emphasis to her exceptionally large chest. She stretched. She began to walk down the long garden road, brushing her hand against the flowers as she passed them. My name is Rias Grammary, and I'm a devil. But other than that, I like to think I'm a pretty normal high school junior. In fact, I'm currently on my school trip to Kyoto. Rias continued through the garden, eventually coming across a small grotto with a little bench where she took a seat and let the wind blow through her hair. It really is a great city. Everywhere I look, so much of the history of Japan, everywhere. I just had to get away from Akeno and the others and take it all in for the evening, alone. Moments passed by as the young devil sat on the bench, taking in the smell, but suddenly something felt off. What's that? Rias immediately cocked her head to find a blonde young man standing in the corner of the grotto. Well, hello, devil. The man had straight blonde hair, bright red eyes and a cocky smile plastered on his face. He was wearing a white priest shirt with a black collar, his hands folded by his waist. I'm sorry, but even to these disgusting pagans, Kyoto is considered a holy place. So what exactly is trash like you doing here? The strange man said with a smile, while still managing to exert an aura of menace. You? Rias jumped from her seat. You aren't human, you're a. Bingo. I'm one of God's perfect creations, whereas you are one of the more flawed experiments, so unfortunately I'm gonna have to ask you to come with me. The man said as he began to approach Rias. Yeah, not happening. The devil girl threw down a blast of red energy at the blonde priest. Please. The man said as he was consumed by energy. Don't insult me. He knocked away the energy off his body using a shield made of golden light. Try not to make this any harder than it has to be. No way. Rias turned around planning to flee, but behind her were two men dressed in white cloaks holding crucifixes that caused the young girl to flinch. Ah! She screamed as she spread her bat-like wings and prepared to escape through the air. I don't think so. The blonde priest grabbed the back of Rias' head and a flash of light poured from his fingertips, causing the young girl to suddenly fall asleep. This time, Lord, you will have your sacrifice. And at last I will be granted my forgiveness. Ha 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 ha, the man chuckled as he picked the girl off the ground. Ha 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 ha. Later, elsewhere. Ugh, my head is killing me. Where am I? Why am I gagged? Rias opened her eyes to find herself lying on the ground in the middle of a glowing golden magic circle, her hands chained down and her mouth gagged with rope. Surrounding her was a crowd of the cloaked men similar to the ones from before. She screamed through the rope. Silence. The priest from before, who now stood on an elevated platform above he was now wearing a white ceremonial robe decorated with a golden cross on his chest. Trash like you shouldn't speak, it could disturb the sanctity of the ceremony. But now that you've awoken, we can commence with the sacrifice. The priest raised his arms to the sky and his hands began to glow, and the circle below Rias lit up as well. But out of nowhere the man suddenly stopped. On second thought, I have a better idea. To my faithful followers, as a reward for your dedication and service to our cause, indulge yourselves in the sacrifice. The priest declared, as Rias responded with a look of utter terror. Revel in sin for one last time, before you absolved by our Lord. Rias screamed again and struggled with her chains, but the holy light from the circle beneath her made her too weak to do anything. She had no choice but to stare in horror as the menacing white grins of the hooded men descended on her. Rip. Her top was ripped open and her chest was laid bare for the strange men to ogle at with dot. Ha. The priest began to laugh maniacally as Rias was crowded by his henchmen. That's right, devil. This is the end that a creature like you deserves. As the gruesome priest continued to laugh, he couldn't help but notice the door of his lair creak open. He immediately called his men. Intruder. The hood strangers quickly left Rias, her shirt torn open, but the remainder of her clothes were luckily intact as a stranger wearing a black hoodie and sweats with red kanji spray painted on his back made his way into the cultist hideout. Oh. So this is where you've been hiding all along? The stranger asked as he walked deeper into the dark building. The lack of lighting kept his face hidden from sight, but his piercing green eyes seemed to glow through the shadow cast over his face. Even though his face wasn't visible, one could tell by his voice that he was a young man, most likely a teenager. You guys are the ones that have been harassing weaker spirits lately, right? Not cool. The stranger answered for himself. This is their turf, you know. They don't go over Rome and mess around with you jerks, do they? Don't dare speak to me that way, human. Those pagans are trash and will burn for their beliefs. We've merely been spreading the truth. The priest was now furious that his ceremony was interrupted. Truth, huh? So I suppose your followers know your little secret. Issei said as he fished a long jet black feather from his jacket pocket. I didn't know the church was so accepting these days. That's pretty progressive, huh? I guess anything's possible if a fall. Shut your damn mouth, insect. The priest snapped at this. Whoever of you ends this cretin's life first gets the girl first. On his command 5 cultists charged the stranger. Fun time already? The young man ducked out of the way of an incoming punch by one of the cultists. He then grabbed his attacker's arm and slammed it down onto the hard ground. 2 more cultists charged him together. They both tried to drop and kick him, but the stranger simply grabbed their feet midair and threw them back at the remaining cultists who stepped up, incapacitating all of them. Never mind, that wasn't very fun at all. What the hell? Those men were all twice your size. That's impossible. You're human. The fallen priest screamed. You must wield sacred gear. Yet you reject God, even though he granted you such a gift. Who do you think you are? Well, you're right about one thing. The stranger smiled under his hood before he threw the jacket off his body. Boost. The boy was a teenager with messy brown hair, shiny green eyes, and a sharp-toothed grin. Under his jacket was a red t-shirt, and the boy's arm had been transformed and was now covered in red scales like steel. Golden blades protruded from the end of the gauntlet, and on top of his hand was a shining green orb. I do in fact own a sacred gear. But I am not rejecting God, I'm rejecting you nutso. Boost. Explosion. The gauntlet expanded, growing all the way up to the boy's elbow, growing a few more spikes and another green gem. That's it? No way. The Red Dragon Emperor. You have a long anus. Grrrr. The priest began to levitate as 2 crow-like wings expanded from his back, shocking all the rest of the cult. No matter. Dragon or not, you won't stop the sacrifice. I will obtain his forgiveness and be accepted back into heaven with open arms. He summoned a golden trident made of light. I'm coming, father. He hurled his trident. Oh, so that's the deal, huh? The boy said as he simply punched the glowing trident, shattering it midair. What? That's impossible. At this point he was in full-on crazy mode. So you've totally gone rogue. I guess that means that old hair dye won't be too pissed if I had some fun with you. Issei pointed his gauntlet at the fallen angel as a small energy bulb began to form in his palm. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. Boost. 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 Dragon shot. Issei fired the energy blast into the fallen angel's chest, sending him flying out of the building, screaming the whole time. Man, that guy was annoying. Issei put his head in his hand before turning to the crowd of cultists. Listen up. That boss of yours is a fallen angel, which means he can't lead you to heaven or whatever you guys believe in. So you guys better srammer. The only place you will go is to a hospital. Issei clenched his scaly fist, and that was enough to scare off the cultists and cause Issei to sigh. Ugh. This is totally boring. That's when he heard a loud mmmmfff. Mmmmfff. Coming from the floor. Oh crap. The hostage. The boy's face palmed as he ran over to Rias. He broke the chains that held Rias and pulled her gag down, allowing her to speak. Hey, I missed the devil. Are you alright? Ha. Ha. Rias took a few deep breaths before answering. Why, yeah, I'll be okay, thank you. With a second look, Rias managed to take in some of the finer features of her rescuer's face and began to blush. Who are you? Not important. The boy abruptly turned away from the girl. You need to go, we can't risk that psycho coming back and starting this mess all over again. So please, get going. He said as he prepared to leave. Wait. Rias called out, grabbing the boy by the hand before he could leave. You could at least tell me your name. The boy turned back around and had a massive blush on his face. Listen, you're kinda exposed. The boy pointed to Ria's torn shirt, causing the girl to cover herself and shriek. Before Rias could say anything, the gem on the boy's gauntlet lit up. What? He's getting away. Not yet, I'm not done with him yet. Listen. He turned back to Rias, shielding his eyes from the indecent sight. I'm leaving, so you better do the same, but I'm like the good guy, okay? So don't call the cops on me, please. With that, the boy ran off and leapt out of the hole he created in the roof, leaving the devil girl all alone. Thanks whoever you are. President Day Kuo Academy classroom. Issei Haidu. A male teacher announced with a stern voice as he pointed his ruler at the seemingly messy brown-haired boy from before who was currently sitting with his head down at his desk, napping. Huh. The boy woke up and slowly raised his head to look back at his angry teacher. Present, he said with a guilty smile, rousing a chuckle from his classmates. Well, Mr. Haidu, if my class is easy enough for you to sleep through, how about you solve the problem written on the board? Mr. Teacher stepped aside to show off the massive numbers and letters scribbled on the board that he claimed to be a maths problem. After a brief moment of silence there was an answer. 3, right. X equals 3. What? The teacher asked, shocked by the boy's answer. He quickly checked his answer book to verify the claim. Well, technically the answer is 2.9734 repeating, but I rounded up. The young man elaborated. It actually was pretty easy. But that the teacher shifted from a state of shock to a state of rage. Well, Mr. Haidu. I'll tell you what won't be so easy. It won't be so easy when you are cleaning every inch of this classroom by yourself after school. Oh yes sir. He answered before lowering his head. Actually that does sound kinda easy, just a bit tedious. What a smart ass. One of his classmates whispered behind his back. Good grades, good looks, he's good at sports, but he doesn't even try. Another boy continued with a dot. He's not even in any clubs, with all his talents. Talk about a slacker. No wonder he doesn't have any friends. This time it was a girl who followed up. I wonder if they know they're not being subtle. The boy thought to himself as he put his head back down on his desk. My name is Issei Haidu. I'm a second-year high school student, but this is my first year at Kuo Academy. When I was much younger I lived in this town with my parents, but there was a fire that burned down my house and killed my parents. After that I was sent to live with my wealthy grandparents in Kyoto. So make that rich, smart, good-looking, and athletic. Anyway, my grandfather died before the start of the new school year and it was decided that I would live back here in Kuo for the rest of my high school years. Ring. Ring. The school bells blared through the classroom and everyone cleared out with the exception of Issei. That's right Haidu. When I get back on Monday I expect this room to be spotless and hopefully by then you will have learned a lesson in respect. The teacher said with a satisfied smirk. I wouldn't count on it. Issei said before his teacher could close the door, causing the man to twitch a bit in fury before slamming it on Issei. Ugh. I've only been here a week and it already sucks, it's been hell since day one. Well that's partially your own fault. The top of Issei's hand lit up a bright green and a powerful voice began to ring in the boy's ear. This is Drag. Issei monologues. He is the dragon spirit who resides in my sacred gear. He's the real Red Dragon Emperor. The heavenly dragon of domination and Welsh dragon of myth. It's his power, I just get to use it. No offense partner, but your personality is pretty much garbage. You really don't come across as friendly at all. You don't smile, you don't go out of your way to talk to people. Maybe you should join a club or something, you could always introduce yourself to the devils that reside at this school, I'm sure they are currently deciding what their next move regarding you should be. Maybe you should convince them that trying to kill you isn't the move they need to make. Thanks for the pep talk. But I think I'm okay, weren't you the one that acting too friendly with devils is a political move for the Red Dragon Emperor? I mean Azazel won't even talk to me in public because of how crazy things are right now. You know I'm not really big on politics. Issei said knowing it would displease the dragon, so he came up with a compromise. But maybe I can smile more. Issei quickly finished cleaning the room, he washed the floor and windows, swept up the dirt, and threw away all the remaining trash. Spotless. Issei remarked as he wiped the sweat off his face and he was right in a sense, the room looked to sparkle after Issei had finished his work. I knew it would be easy. Issei collected his bag and left the cleaned classroom. It was kind of a pain, but it's not like I had any plans for a Friday night. The more I think about it, the sadder I get. And once again, I have to say that's your fault. It's really unbecoming of the Red Dragon Emperor to be so shy around girls. Drake pointed out once more. You know, I wish you'd cut it out with that. You sound like my dad if I had one. Issei thought back, his frustration could be seen through his face. Actually I think I've been enabling you. Maybe if I stopped talking to you so much, you'd be forced to go and make some friends. The dragon threatened. I have friends. They're just all back in Kyoto. Issei and his dragon continued to argue in his mind, which kinda took his mind off his surroundings, and he really wasn't watching where he was going. Ooh off. Issei exclaimed as he bumped into a girl knocking both of them to the ground. Oh geez, my bad. I wasn't paying attention, sorry. Issei apologized without realizing exactly who he had bumped into. Crap. Long red hair and soft blue eyes made up the familiar face. Oh, it's no problem. I wasn't paying much attention either. Wait. Your partner, she's a devil. Drake pointed out, kinda stating the obvious at this point. No duh, I'm pretty sure they don't make humans like that. Issei answered, noticing more than just the girl's aura. I know you. Rias continued. You're in a rush actually. Issei quickly interrupted as he hopped to his feet. I wish I could stay and chat with senpai, but I have a prior engagement and really have to go. That was a lie Issei told before nearly sprinting past the girl to avoid any more questions. Outside Kuo Academy grounds. Ooh. Issei let out a sigh of relief. I think I lost her. Great, but why did you run? We just talked about this. Drake asked in an annoyed tone. Wait. I thought you were telling me to run. Issei replied as he caught his breath. No, I was just pointing out that she was in fact a devil. Then you sprinted away, but whatever. More importantly, she felt kind of familiar and seemed to know you. Do you recognize her? Drake continued with his questioning and added to Issei's confusion. Nope, don't ring a bell. She was probably just talking about the sacred gear. Issei and Drake continued their chat, not noticing a strange new presence creeping up behind them. Excuse me. A soft feminine voice called out to an unprepared Issei, causing him to jump. Wah. Issei yelled as he wasn't used to being snuck up on. He turned to find a girl with long black hair and a green uniform of one of the neighboring high schools. She had a slim waist that helped to emphasize her above-average bust and hips. I'm sorry, but I'm new to this area and seem to have lost my way home. You look like a nice person. Could you please help me? The girl pleaded, I'm sure doing the best job she could. Careful partner, red flag. Drake warned. Yeah, crimson flag, Issei replied with a roll of his eyes. Well first can you tell me your name? Oh, sure. It's Yuma. The girl replied with a friendly grin. An old building left from before Kuo became a co-ed school, in a dark room lit only by candles and decorated with old furniture that help add to the gothic style of the room, if I do say so myself. Some of the most well-known students in the entire academy. Kibayudo, probably the most popular male student at the academy. Next to him is Kaneko Taoju, a petite, adorable girl who is extremely popular and is an idol to certain people at our school. Some people call her the school mascot. Finally, Akeno Himejima, a senior like me and one of the school's two great ladies. My darling family. Rias smiled as she addressed the group. Good evening everyone, thanks to the help of the student council. We've obtained a significant amount of information on our new interesting student. And since we graciously allowed Sona to claim the Dragon King, this one is all ours. Akeno, could you please read the findings aloud? Yes ma'am. The black-haired smiled as she stood up holding a document full of information carefully in her hands. His name is Issei Haidu, a second-year student. He lived in Kyoto and went to school there until this year. His family is reportedly wealthy and his grandfather died fairly recently, which is likely why he transferred here this year. His aura is kinda cloudy, so it can often be hard to tell, but he's human. At least mostly human. He doesn't have a strong magical presence, so it's safe to assume he wields a sacred gear, which is special all on its own, but what's truly extraordinary about the boy is his power level. It can vary from day to day, but the readings have been consistently above 250. That last bit of information shocked both Kiba and Kaneko. 250, that's higher than mine. Kiba said in a state of disbelief. Wow. Kaneko added with as much emotion as she could muster. Yes, it truly is incredible. But that's without even activating his sacred gear. It's safe to assume that he can achieve a number well into the 300s if he wanted to. Also, some of the scouts from the Citri clan claimed to experience a feeling of intoxicating desire when within close proximity to Issei, but it seems to only affect the female members, and the stronger members report to be less affected. Akeno finished before looking over at Rias. He hasn't shown any aggression towards us, but he does seem to make a conscious effort to avoid us and the Citri clan if possible. So it's like he knows we are devils. I want it. Rias mumbled under her breath, getting a strange look from her fellow third year. I mean, what is his relationship with the student body? Akeno chuckled a bit to herself before returning her attention to the paper. Well, he's notably attractive. Known for his seemingly natural academic and athletic talents, but seen as aloof with a slacker mentality. No friends of note. He is rather popular with a number of the first-year girls, and I've seen personally that some of the third-year girls have an interest in him, but most of the girls in his grade keep their distance. They tend to claim that he's completely unapproachable, he hardly ever talks and never smiles. Girls my grade wet themselves over him. Kaneko spoke up, speaking in a dull, uninterested tone. They like to watch him during gym class and he's all they talk about at lunch. But everyone's afraid to ask him out cause he turned down some chick from his class in front of everyone on the first week of school. Heard it was brutal. I remember that. Kiba replied. Because of that everyone is afraid to talk to him, so no clubs have recruited him yet. Well then I think the occult research club should be first to try. Rias, who previously had been fairly silent, decided to speak up. It sounds to me like this guy is in desperate need of some friends, so Monday morning we are gonna make friends. Wow, President, you sound almost desperate. Akeno teased. You must really want this one. Of course I do. Rias replied confidently. I think I found my secret weapon. Well then you're in luck. Akeno smiled as she and Rias made their way to one of the windows decorating the room. Your secret weapon hasn't left yet. She pointed to an Issei-looking silhouette sweeping up one of the second-year rooms. Why don't we bring him in tonight? Great idea. Rias got up from her desk. I think I'll do it myself. Oh really? Akeno chuckled. How does the mighty king plan to accomplish this feat? That's easy. Rias smiled as she made her way to the door. Sacred gear or not, he's still just a high school boy. I don't think I'll have trouble getting what I want from him. Later in a familiar hallway. Wow, Akeno wasn't kidding. I can totally feel this guy's energy. A normal person wouldn't be able to tell the difference, but a devil's senses are heightened to the point where I'm able to feel a higher abnormal power if it's close enough. Kinda like how a normal person can feel a change in pressure, but this is different. There's certainly a change in pressure, but it's also warmer. It's kinda making my head hurt. As Rias dealt with the attack on her senses, she wasn't paying attention to where she was walking. Wham! She collided with someone, sending both parties to the ground. Oof. Geez, my bad. I wasn't paying attention, I'm sorry. Ouch, come on Rias, get it together. Poor guy thinks it's his fault when I was totally spaced out, and I can't help but think that voice is familiar. Rias placed a palm on her still head, which was aching even worse now, but not because of the fall. She opened her eyes to apologize. Oh, it's no problem. I wasn't paying much attention either. Wait. You're. Rias' eyes lit up as she immediately recognized the boy. It's him. The bright green eyes, the messy brown hair. He's the boy who saved me from those cultists last year. It makes sense, the powerful sacred gear of the Red Dragon Emperor Issei Haidu. I know you. You're. Issei's eyes were bulging out of his head as well, but not exactly for the same reason. In a rush actually. Issei jumped up, making an awkward face. I wish I could stay and chat with Senpai, but I have a prior engagement and really have to go. He flashed a toothy smile before sprinting off away from the devil. Rias sat behind, stunned on the floor. She didn't make a move to follow the boy, opting instead to simply think things over in her mind. He smiled at me, but he never smiles, that's what said. Then why me? Does he remember me? No way, he can't have. If he remembered, then why did he run away? But then why? Rias? A small magic circle opened up by the redeeded devil's ear, and Akeno's voice came out. The target is getting away. Right. Ria's voice almost cracked as she came back down to earth, her face bright red. Kaneko, have you initiated Plan B? Are you following the boy? Yes, boss. This time Kaneko's voice was the one flowing through the magic circle. Well, do you have a status report? Rias asked as she dusted herself off. Well, he's with a girl. Kaneko replied in a bored-sounding tone. What? Issei's pav. Oh, sure. It's Yuma. The girl replied with a friendly grin. Sure it is, Issei said under his breath. What was that? Akeno asked, trying hard to make a confused face. My name is Issei. Issei certainly looked uninterested in Yuma as he walked past the girl. Sure, let's go. Who knows, this may even be fun. Issei tried to remain optimistic, who knows, maybe this Yuma is more than she appears. Let's get you home. Issei said with air quotes as he continued down the road. Oh, right home. Yuma said as she followed behind the boy. The two teenagers continued down the sidewalk for a few minutes, with a small silver-haired devil following close behind. Yuma tried to make small talk, but Issei didn't answer a single question, remaining ever silent. They eventually came across a quiet side street away from any residential houses or prying eyes. Alright, this should be good. The more I thought about it, the more I began to look forward to this. Issei turned back to black-haired girl smiling a crooked grin. This is gonna be fun. Wait. What are you talking about? Yuma asked, as Issei's creepy grin had her concerned. I don't know if I can wait much longer. Issei, still grinning, removed his blazer and school shirt, tossing them to the side and leaving only his red undershirt. This isn't my first time, so I vote to skip the foreplay and go straight to the fun part. Yuma's face lit up a bright red. Wait a second. First time? Foreplay? I don't know what you think this is, asshole, but you're trying to kill me, right? Issei asked as he spread his legs out and brought his hands up in a kung fu stance. Well, I'm ready, let's dance. Wait. How did you know? Yuma was utterly confused at this point and didn't know how to respond. Well, because I'm not an idiot. Issei answered, still in an attack stance. Actually, before we begin, can you tell me your name? Like your real name. So that later on in the fight, when I need to call out your name in frustration or anger, I'll know. HMPH. Very well. Yuma had just decided to accept things at this point, and her body began to glow. Two crow-like wings sprouted from her back, and her school uniform was replaced with a leather bikini of sorts. For your final moments on Earth, you may have the pleasure of referring to me as Lady Raynare, you miserable scum. Her tone shifted from sweet and kind to vicious and cruel. Hell yeah. That's more like it. Issei summoned his gauntlet. Boost. Let's go. Cool. Raynare, with a powerful flap of her wings, rocketed up at least 10 stories into the air and created a blood-red spear out of light. I hope you didn't bet on your sacred gear to be enough to save you from me. She hurled the spear down to earth, but Issei simply grinned. Before it could make contact, Issei thrusted his armored fist forward in front of the spear. Boom. An explosion erupted across the street and clouds of dust concealed Issei. Boost. Oh, I think my sacred gear will be more than powerful enough to handle someone like you. Boost. Whoosh. Like a rocket taking off, Issei leapt into the sky, a stream of dust clouds behind him. What the hell? Raynare screamed as Issei soared up past her in the air, but he didn't miss. He reached his maximum altitude. Issei shifted his weight to his foot as he prepared to axe kick the fallen angel. Ha! Issei slammed his foot down above the Raynare, but she managed to cross her arms in time to block the attack, resulting in a brief stalemate, until. Boost. His body was charged with enough energy to break Raynare's block and knock the girl down into the ground below. Ay. Raynare cried out in pain before spitting up a mouthful of saliva. Raynare wouldn't have time to rest as Issei began to crash down after her, his crimson fist aimed directly at her torso. Ugh. The girl grunted as she rolled out of the way just in time. Crash. Issei's gauntlet collided with the ground, cracking the floor and kicking up another cloud of dust. Boost. A flash of green light radiated from the falling dust, but once it faded, 2 glowing green eyes peered out through the dark gray clouds. Ah. Raynare grunted as she struggled to stand back up. What the fuck, this isn't normal, what the hell are you? You're only human, but you hit like a bus. Huh? Issei asked as he walked through the cloud of dust. I thought you already knew, considering you decided to attack me, or would have figured it out considering. Issei shook his gauntlet in the air, showing it off a bit. I'm actually only 97.335% human, I'm 2.665% or one-armed dragon. Heavenly dragon for that matter. But no way, a Longinus wielder. Raynare stumbled backwards in disbelief, and also probably because her leg was pretty numb. Yep, that's right. I'm the infamous Issei Haidu, the Red Dragon Emperor. Issei stood triumph. Never heard of you. Raynare shot back, hitting Issei right in the pride. But being the Red Dragon Emperor doesn't change anything. You're still dead. Raynare shrieked as she began to fly straight forward at Issei. Hey partner, it's ready. The gauntlet lit up as Drake spoke. Well, then what are we waiting for? Issei smirked. Boost. Explosion. A wave of energy erupted from Issei's body, knocking Raynare out of the air. Meanwhile, Issei's gauntlet expanded all the way to his elbow, growing a new spike and a second green gem. AHH. Raynare's body tumbled across the street before she eventually slammed into a streetlight, knocking it over. No way, that power is unreal. The quote, one of the greatest works of fiction ever made. This isn't even my final form. Issei said before pointing the menacing arm at his opponent. But Kaneko. Whoa, the little devil commented as she sat behind a bush watching the brawl through a tiny magic circle floating over her eye. Kaneko, status report. Ria's voice echoed in Kaneko's ear. How's he doing? I can't believe it. Kaneko was at a loss for words, which really wasn't that different from her typical quiet self. The sacred gear transformed and his power has reached a number over 500 and it's climbing fast. Transformed. It couldn't be the balance breaker, could it? Rias, back at the clubhouse, was busy reading through every book she could find concerning the Welsh dragon and the boosted gear. The books call it the scale mail, it's supposed to look like a suit of armor. Then that's not it, the stupid crow is getting her ass beat. I'll call you back. Kaneko said, hanging up on her master. I should have bought popcorn. But Issei. Ah. Take this bastard. The battle had been going on for a total of 4 minutes, and Raynare was covered head to toe in bruises, but he still continued to fight. Running low on magic power, she tried to uppercut Issei. I won't lose. Not to pathetic human garbage like you. Unfortunately, Raynare's attack was blocked by Issei, who grabbed her hand with his gauntlet. Wow, you really don't give up, do you? I kinda respect that. Issei said with a blank expression that quickly turned vicious. It's too bad you're weak trash. Crack. Issei crushed her hand in his gauntlet, breaking bones. Ah. She screamed and desperately tried to free herself from the boy's grasp, but Issei simply threw her away into the asphalt ground. I really hate people who talk big but can't back it up, it kinda makes me sick. I would kill you where you stand, but I don't want people thinking I took the time out of my day to deal with something as you. Issei continued to taunt as Raynare began to tear up, but her pride wouldn't let her cry. I don't know if your wings work, nor do I care. I just don't want to see crap like you near me ever again. If I do, you're dead. Why, you'll pay for this. Raynare said through a sob as her wings managed to pick her body off the ground. Her body and pride were crushed, but she still refused to accept defeat, which is something that Issei admired on the inside. I swear I'll see to it that you die. Raynare slowly flew away until she disappeared in the night sky. Issei sighed, returning back to his normal demeanor. I suppose that was more fun than boring, at least just a bit. Good job, Issei. Issei then turned to a patch of bushes to his right. Alright, little devil. You can come out. It was silent for a moment, then a rustle of leaves as Kaneko emerged from the leaves. That was cruel, senpai. Is the first thing the small girl said as she glared at Issei. Well, I mean, she was going to kill me. Issei answered with a smile, but the girl continued to glare at fine. There's a reason why I did that. Raynare was a prideful person, so if I had simply beaten her in a fight she may have just left and acted like it never happened. So I decided to attack her pride to make sure she'd want to get revenge. That way she'll try and fight me again after she's gotten stronger, or she'll send someone stronger to fight me. Issei smiled after revealing his foolproof plan. Okay, senpai isn't cruel. He's crazy. Kaneko said, without changing a single facial expression. Well, why don't you tell me your name? I'd feel like a racist if I kept just calling you devil. Issei didn't let the girl's bluntness put a damper on his good mood. Kaneko Taoju. She answered, straight to the point as usual. Cool, I'm Issei Haidu. The brunette extended a hand that the young girl declined to accept. Well, Taoju-san, do you think you're stronger than that fallen angel? Cause I still got plenty of energy I want to get rid of. Issei took a battle stance before he gave the girl a chance to answer. Wait a minute. A massive red magic circle opened up on the ground and Rias rose up from it. I'm going to have to ask you not to fight my servant, please. Rias was in full-on business mode. Oh hey, it's you again. Issei remarked as he calmed down, letting his boosted gear disappear. So you're the head devil, cool. Wait. Rias became feared once more. So you do remember me? Issei looked back at her confused. Well how could I forget you? I ran over her like 45 minutes ago. Oh, of course. Rias put her head down to cover up her blush. Anyway, I have image. She spit out all in one breath, then immediately sank back down into the magic circle before it disappeared. She left me. Kaneko pointed out as she and Issei tried making sense of what had just happened. Do you know what she said? Issei asked the small girl. The boss needs to talk to you. Kaneko translated. Well, it can wait till tomorrow. Issei grabbed his discarded clothing off the ground and started walking back towards the city. I'm hungry. He didn't go too far before Kaneko started following as well. What are you doing? The boss didn't take me home, so I guess I still have to watch you. Kaneko's answer was pretty believable until growl. The small devil's stomach roared, creating a brief awkward silence. Also, I'm hungry. Grandfather. Issei screamed as he bursted through the doors of the large hospital. He was heaving and clearly distraught. Immediately all eyes were on him like he was some kind of crazy person. Excuse me, sir. One of the attending doctors approached the frantic boy. Please calm down, sir, you are causing a scene. If you need help locating a patient, the front desk would be happy to assist. Before he could finish, Issei sprinted over to the large desk manned by computer workers. You. Itada Haidu. Issei screamed at one of the receptionists, who quickly began to search for Dot. Itada Haidu? A pair of onlookers gossiped. Like the millionaire? So rich people have problems too. Onlooker 2 replied. Come on. Issei began tapping his foot impatiently as the receptionist fiddled with her computer. Please, sir. The receptionist restrained herself from snapping at the boy. This will take some time, sir, so please be patient. Lord Issei. An older man with a tall thin build, wearing a tuxedo called out from a nearby elevator. Mr. Igusa. Issei immediately ran over to the familiar face. Right this way, sir. The man instructed, holding the elevator door open for the boy. Later, a hospital waiting room. Issei slammed the door to one of the many rooms. Two found an empty bed and a woman sitting in her chair who looked to be in her upper 30s. The woman was dressed like a traditional Japanese woman with her hair up and face paint, wearing an old-school kimono. Oba-san, where is he? Issei asked the woman. Oh, Issei. The 30-year-old, who was apparently Issei's grandmother, looked back at the boy with sad eyes. He already went into surgery. The doctor said they would try their best, but at this point they just weren't sure what they could do. He was deteriorating fast. She said, fighting back the urge to cry. Issei grabbed his grandmother by the hands in an attempt to console the old woman. Oba-san, what happened? I've been living in Kyoto for 9 years, and my grandfather has never once gotten sick, not a day in his life. How could he suddenly have a heart attack? I told him, Issei. Issei's grandma began to ramble, so Issei tightened his grip slightly to snap her out of it. I'm sure it's his work, that old fool should have just retired already. He can't run a company at his age. Oh, Issei, what am I gonna do? She buried her head into the boy's chest as she started to sob. Don't worry. Grandfather is one of the strongest people I know, he can beat this, he has to. Issei thought to himself as he and his grandmother waited for news. Hours passed and with only updates to help the anxious family keep their sanity. Eventually the head surgeon entered their sad room without a patient. "We're deeply sorry, we did everything we could, but the damage to his heart was so severe, he passed away 4 hours into surgery." "What?" Issei asked, and the doctor continued to talk, but he couldn't hear him anymore. In fact, he couldn't hear anything. "Partner, are you alright?" Drake asked telepathically, but even his voice was fuzzy to Issei. "Issei, darling." The woman put her hand on the boy's shoulder and it was cold and clammy. "Issei, are you alright?" Issei didn't answer, but he was not alright. He felt physically sick, like he was going to barf. The small hospital room was slowly becoming smaller and stuffier. "I need to go." Issei blurted out as he stumbled out of the room. "Wooded area." Issei rushed out of the hospital and into a nearby forested area, sprinting deeper and deeper into the thick trees until he couldn't tell where he was anymore. "Dragon booster." A disembodied voice called out as Issei walked up to a large tree, bigger than all the trees around. "Ah." He struck the tree with his crimson fist, causing the massive plant to shake. "Boost." "Partner, be careful how you use the boosted gear. It responds to emotions, and you're a pool of negativity right now." Drake warned, but Issei wasn't in any state to listen. "Why?" Issei slammed his fist once more into the tree and it shook again. "Boost." And once again the boosted gear reacted to Issei's emotions. "Why me?" And another punch to the tree followed by another boost. "First my parents. Boost. And my house. Boost. Now grandfather. Boost. I couldn't even say goodbye. Boost. What the fuck is wrong with me? Boost." "Partner. Seriously. Channeling your emotions through rage is not a smart move. Trust me." Drake tried again, but Issei continued to ignore him. An enormous burst of energy surged through Issei's body as he was coated head to toe with a vibrant red armor that resembled a cross between a medieval knight and a red dragon, complete with golden tusks and whip-like tail. The entire armor was decorated with green gems like the one from Issei's gauntlet. This time when Issei punched the tree, the entire structure fell onto its side with a loud crash. "Boo-om." Issei, still in his armor, dropped to his knees and began to wail into the sky. "Oji-sama. Present day." "Ah." Issei sat up in his bed, sweat rolling down his forehead. "Oh, just a dream or a memory I guess. Either way, I need breakfast." Issei flipped out of the white bed sheets in his large bedroom, went for a quick shower, and threw on some shorts and a loungy t-shirt. Why would I have a dream like that? Am I depressed or something? I have felt kinda out of it recently, but that's just because I'm super bored, right? What are the symptoms of depression? I'll web it later. Issei exited his bedroom and made his way down a long hallway. I really don't thank Oba-san enough for this apartment. 12,000 square feet, fully furnished, a master bedroom with a connected master bath. 2 guest rooms that share a full bathroom, and best of all a huge kitchen. Issei smiled as he looked over marble countertops, the tabletop cutting board, 2 large ovens and a variety of other appliances. Alright, he smiled as he opened up a cabinet and pulled out a black piece of cloth and tied it around his waist. And black apron that read Baddest Chef on it spelled out in red. It's time to go. But before Issei could begin his chef work, he noticed something. A small faint noise coming from the living room. Ashuo Issei looked over his couch to find a little white-haired devil sleeping rolled up on his couch. "Yo. Wake up." Issei said with no respect for the sleeping girl. Kaneko stirred and her eyes slowly blinked open. "So you stayed here all night?" "Yeah." Kaneko answered as she rubbed the sleep from her eyes. "I'm supposed to watch you." "Why did you sleep on the couch?" Issei asked as he returned to the kitchen. Kaneko sat up on the couch and glared back at Issei. "Senpai's a pervert." "No, I didn't mean you should have slept with me. There are 2 guest rooms with real beds down the hall." Issei answered blankly, lighting a flame on his gas stove as Kaneko. "Yeah, bet your back is sore now, isn't it? I'm making breakfast. What are you in the mood for?" Western Kaneko kept things short as she made her way into the kitchen. "Bacon and eggs it is." Issei pulled a carton of eggs out of his fridge. He looked over at the devil and noticed that she was still wearing her school clothes, meaning she most likely slept in them. "Hey, it'll take a few minutes, I don't know if you have any extra clothes, but maybe you should take a shower." The glares returned. "Pervert. Come on." Issei was getting sick of this pretty quickly. "I'm not gonna peek, I might burn the eggs. I just don't want you stinking up my house." Kaneko lifted up her arm and sniffed, then she made a face. "Fine, don't go anywhere." The young girl marched down the hallway towards the shower. "Bathroom's the second door on your right." Issei called out as he cracked a couple eggs into his pan. "This is my first ever house guest, and she's a girl. A cute girl. Isn't a guy supposed to act differently in this situation?" "Careful, partner, those are some pretty naughty thoughts. A proper red dragon emperor should respect women." Drake spoke up. I thought dragons like to kidnap women and hold them up in towers or caves. Issei asked for his hand. Only younger male dragons would do something like that. Because they're curious. Drake answered in a scholarly tone. But then they'd kill people who came to rescue them. Do you know many children that aren't playful? Later. Issei was just finishing up breakfast when Kaneko came back down the hallway in a new outfit, a white t-shirt with 3/4 sleeves, a light brown vest and a navy blue skirt. I'm done. Where'd you get the clothes? Issei asked, carefully scanning the girl's new outfit. Pervert Kaneko glared and Issei sighed and averted his gaze. I went home and got them. Of course you did. Issei rolled his eyes. Well, you made it back just in time, breakfast is ready. Issei scooped up a pile of scrambled eggs and plopped them down on a plate. They bounced and hit the porcelain. Perfectly fluffy and a milky yellow texture. Issei laid a plate down on the table for Kaneko with a side of toast and crispy bacon. Hope scrambled is okay. Kaneko didn't answer, she remained quiet. She carefully scooped up a fork full of eggs and slowly placed it in her mouth. The devil's eyes lit up and she quickly started shoveling more egg into her mouth. Yeah, they're pretty incredible, aren't they? I surprise myself sometimes. Issei smiled, emphasizing his sharp teeth. Kaneko looked up from the plate with a confused look on her face. Why isn't senpai like this at school? You may have more friends if people knew you had a personality. Ouch, whoa. That one actually hurt. Issei continued to smile, trying to cover up his pain. Well, if you gotta know. Back at my old school I was always under a microscope. I was part of a very prominent family and I had to keep up a facade of high society and dignity for the sake of my family and reputation. So I moved out here to the middle of nowhere and I thought I would have the chance to reinvent myself, but what happens the first week I get here? Flashback. The school day had ended and Issei and many of his classmates had exited the school building and were preparing to head home, but before Issei could leave campus. Haidu-kun. A strange voice called out to him, stopping the boy in his tracks. He turned around to see a girl chasing after him. She had long dark blue hair tied up in a bow, large breasts, a thin waist, and a confident smile on her face. That's Ren Suda. One of the male students whispered to a friend. I wonder what she wants with a new kid. I know her, she's in my grade. Issei thought as she let the girl catch up to him. She's pretty popular with all the guys at school, wonder what she wants with me. Haidu-kun. She called out again as she caught up to the boy. Thank you for waiting. There's something I need to ask you. She clasped her hands together and began to fidget. I think we should go out. What? Issei's eyes lit up and he grew a shade of red. She's asking me out. In front of everyone. Who knew small town girls were so forward? I've been watching you ever since you got here. I've seen you during gym and in class. You're just amazing, you're so good at everything. Anyway, tomorrow is a day off so maybe we could go see a movie or something. She continued to fidget. Issei stared wide-eyed, completely shocked by the sudden confession, but before he could give a straight answer, he began to pour into his ears. Aw, that's so sweet. A female onlooker commented. You think he'll say yes? Of course he'll say yes. A male student continued in an annoyed tone. Just look at her, damn that guy is lucky. Haven't you guys heard? A third student entered the circle. That Haidu guy is crazy rich. His grandpa was in charge of a huge bank chain and he owned stock in a ton of major corporations. No wonder he got a girl like her, damn. It must be good to have money. Oh wow, he's like a real-life prince. That's so romantic. Yeah, a prince and a princess, I think this might be the beginning of the school's first ever power couple. Crap. This is getting out of hand. I came here to be a normal student, I don't want to go back under the microscope. Every step I take, every word I say becomes school-wide news. Fuck that. Issei's frustration quickly changed to anger. And what the hell is her problem? Asking me out in front of everyone, so I couldn't say no. Well, if she thinks I'll cave in cause I'm afraid of a little peer pressure, she's got another thing coming. No. Issei said without a single shred of remorse. Shocking Suda-san and the gossipers. I'm sorry but I really don't know you, and I'm not just gonna go out with somebody who's basically a stranger. Without saying anything else, Issei turned around and stormed off campus. End of flashback. And ever since then, my reputation has been shit and nobody will talk to me. Issei said with a lowered head and a sad smile. Which to be fair is kinda what I deserve, I got mad and overreacted. But regardless, first impressions are hard to shake, so regardless of how much of my personality I exhibit, I doubt my imagination will change that much. That does sound pretty sucky, sorry senpai. Kaneko said as she sipped tea from a mug. The first nice thing she had said to Issei since they met, but it was quickly back to business. My master wants to talk to you. Yeah, I know. Issei too was drinking tea. She told me yesterday, I'll stop by after school Monday. No. Kaneko said quickly. today. Ugh, but it's the weekend and I don't want to do anything. The Red Dragon Emperor whined. Shut up. No one likes a slacker. It was pretty evident that Kaneko wasn't playing around, so Issei eventually gave in. Hurry to get dressed, we're leaving in 15 minutes. HMPH. Since when do you get to tell me what to do? The boy mumbled as he crossed his arms. But when he looked up, another burning death glare was focused at him. Fine. Issei stood up and threw his hands into the air. I'm going. Later outside the old school building. The two stood outside a massive castle-like structure with two huge wooden doors. Wow, it's kinda creepy. Issei said, looking down at the petite girl. We're devils. Kaneko said as she pushed open the massive door. What do you expect? The two traveled deeper into the dark building until they reached a candle-lit room where Rias sat on top of her desk with a confident smile. Hello Issei, welcome to the Occult Research Club. Issei and Kaneko sat down on one of the twin couches in the room. Across from them sat a blonde-haired boy with a handsome smile. That's Kibayudo, he's probably the most popular boy in school. I hadn't noticed until now even though he's in my grade, but man, he's totally a devil. Akeno, are you done in the shower? Rias called out down a dark hallway. Issei's here. Sorry Issei, but I want everyone to be here before we start the meeting. I'm coming. A gentle feminine voice called back from down the hallway. Out from the dark door a beautiful raven-haired woman came walking into the room wearing nothing but a bathrobe that didn't do much to conceal her cleavage, and Issei couldn't take his eyes off of her. You must be Issei-kun. Akeno began to walk towards the boy, her hips swaying as she did so. She made her way to where Issei was sitting and got up into his personal space, then she bent over to meet the boy's eyes, allowing her breasts to droop downwards as she did so. The rumors are true, you really are cute. She smiled, making Issei's heart skip a beat. Akeno took a seat across from the boy, and Issei took a deep gulp of saliva. He then noticed a sharp pain in his shoulder, and he looked over at Kaneko. The small devil was making an angry face as she looked back up at him. Senpai's a pervert. Ahem. Rias pretended to cough, trying to calm down the room before she spoke. Listen Issei, my name is Rias Gremory, and I'm a high-class devil from the prominent Gremory family. This is my family, none of them were born devils, at least not completely. They are what you would consider reincarnated devils. In exchange for immortality and power they have pledged to serve me for the time being. I've seen your abilities, I watched you fight against the fallen angel last night, as well as the time you saved my life from the white cult in Kyoto last spring. Oh, I knew she was familiar. She was that devil girl that got captured by those losers back in Kyoto. Oh crap. I totally saw her. Issei's face immediately went red. No doubt she's still pissed about that. Is she going to file charges? Crap. That was totally sexual misconduct. So I'll cut to the chase. Rias continued. I would like to make you a part of my family as well. I have no doubt that you'll become a proud and strong devil. Wait, what? No way. Issei blurted out, shocking Rias in her peerage. Look, I'm sorry, okay. I get that peeking isn't cool. But just because I saw your boobs doesn't mean that you can try to blackmail me into becoming your slave. Plus, if you plan on pressing charges, good luck proving I was even there. I blew up that entire building. What? Rias immediately began to blush before she grabbed her chest and turned away from the boy, trying to hide from him. No. Idiot. Rias cried out. I'm not trying to blackmail you, idiot. I'm not even mad about that. Wait. You're not. Issei looked back. His eyebrow raised in confusion. No, of course not. Ria's face slowly began to darken its shade of red. That was a reward for saving me. A reward? Issei looked even more puzzled than before. Thanks. Anyway. Stop talking about it. Rias yelled, her face was almost the same color as her hair at this point. Please join my peerage, I need you. She clasped her hands together and pleaded. Well, Issei didn't want to hurt her feelings, but he also didn't want to say yes. I'm sorry. Issei bowed respectfully. But it just sounds so boring. Boring? Rias asked, as she couldn't believe where this conversation had gone. Rias let out a sigh as she seemed to have lost control of the conversation when Kaneko stood up. Prez, I have an idea. The littlest devil walked up to her master and whispered something into her ear that made the Rikichi smile. That's right, Issei, I forgot to mention the raiding game. Rias said with a cool smile. Raiding game? Issei looked up from his bow. Yes, originally created as a way for rivaling devil factions to settle their differences without going to war, it is now the underworld's most popular sport of sorts. Rival devil factions will go up against each other in a clash of strength and skill. It's based on a game of chess. The rules tend to vary, but it's essentially an all-out battle royal between the two families. As Rias explained the game, she realized that she had the boy's full attention. I wish to be the king of the raiding game, which means if you join me, you'll have the chance to battle all kinds of foes. Foes with strength and abilities you've never even seen before. Issei wiped his face with his arms. This rating game had the boy drooling with anticipation. That does sound interesting. Issei stood up. I will consider your offer. Rias smiled. Thank you, Issei. But. Issei interrupted, apparently he hadn't finished his thought. Only on one condition. Rias, Kaneko, Kiba, Akeno, and Issei moved from the large castle-like building and moved to a nearby clearing in the trees. Yeah, this'll do perfectly. Issei smiled as he looked around the open patch of grass. He then began to stretch his legs and lower back. So Rias walked over to the stretching boy, still kinda confused by his strange request. If me or one of my family members can beat you in a fight, you'll agree to join us. Beat me? Issei raised an eyebrow at this. I mean, that sounds pretty unlikely, but yeah, sure, if one of you can beat me, then I'll become a devil without a second thought. Really, I'm just asking for something not completely boring. If any of you devils can get me to enjoy myself or at least keep me from falling asleep, then I'll consider it. Issei finished as he popped his neck. Wow, you're kind of an egotist. Rias said, looking kinda disturbed by the boy's rather nasty attitude. Do you really think that highly of yourself? Yeah, but that's because I have to. I've never lost a fight, spirits, demons, fallen angels and even other sacred gear wielders, so with a track record like that, it would be dishonorable to those I've defeated if I'm humble and don't think highly of myself as a warrior. Then what does that say about the way I feel about the warriors I've beaten? Issei finished stretching and looked back at the red-haired devil. I think it's important to recognize the strength of your opponent, but to do that you have to recognize your own strength. Call it ego or pride or whatever you want, but how am I supposed to acknowledge a warrior who defeats me if I don't think of myself as the strongest? Whoa, that's pretty profound. Ria's eyes began to sparkle as she looked at the boy. His red t-shirt was dry fit and clung tightly to his body, seeming to emphasize how his lean yet cut and well-defined physique. The open breeze blew just right to push Issei's hair so that it fluttered over his emerald green eyes. He moved, but Rias was preoccupied and didn't quite hear him. What was that? Who's gonna be my opponent? Issei asked again, sounding impatient. Oh right. Rias answered awkwardly. Crap, I got distracted. Stay focused, Rias. The redhead shook away her indecent thoughts and prepared to answer. I can't afford to lose this, so don't take it personally. Your opponent will be my most powerful piece, Akeno. Me? Akeno said with a huge smile on her face. What an honor. Listen to me, Akeno. Ria's now in her king mode. I want you to take this seriously, I don't need you holding back. Give this your all from the start. Yes ma'am. Akeno teased with a smile as her body began to glow golden and a magic circle opened beneath her feet. Magic power surged and faded, revealing that she was now wearing white and red robes similar to that of a traditional Japanese shrine maiden. Sorry Issei-kun, but my master said I couldn't play around with you. Magic power began to pour from her body as she prepared to battle. I don't plan on losing either. Issei replied. Boost. His gauntlet appeared on his arm as he took a martial arts stance. I won't surrender until there's not a single muscle remaining in my body that I can move. That's what I like to hear. That determined face of yours is getting me hot. Akeno winked at the boy, but Issei was in battle mode and didn't respond. Let's just get this over with. Rias rolled her eyes. The fighters both looked back at Rias as if they were expecting some sort of signal before they started. Oh, begin. I'll make this quick. Akeno taunted as she rose into the air. With a flick of her wrist, lightning flew from her fingertips. Whoa. The attack came quicker than expected, forcing Issei to awkwardly jump out of the way and landing hard on the ground. Whoa, she's strong. You got that right, partner, you're pretty outmatched here power-wise. What's your play? Drake contacted the boy telepathically. I think we ought to even the playing field. Issei thought as he hopped off the ground. Ah. Boost. There is typically a 10-second time limit between when the boosted gear can boost my power, but through training, I've learned to bypass that time limit by focusing my strong emotions and screaming. Ah. Boost. Wow, screaming to raise your power. Just like a character from an anime. Akeno said with her standard smile. But I don't know that I want you to get much stronger than that. Akeno placed her hands together and created a large ball of lightning. So let's put an end to this. She threw a massive ball of lightning down as Issei continued to scream. Ah. Boost. Alright, that should be enough. Issei stopped his screaming and pointed his gauntlet at the incoming attack. Take this. Dragon shot. A small energy ball formed in Issei's claw and with a punch he fired it into the electric sphere. The two attacks collided mid-air and began to struggle back and forth before eventually exploding. Wow Issei, that's an impressive attack. Doesn't really seem like your style, I wonder how many more of those you have in you. Akeno chuckled as she threw down more bolt lightning. Issei was able to see these coming better, and due to his boosts in power, he was faster and able to dodge them easily. Boost. Ran up beneath where Akeno was floating and leapt into the air. Ah! Issei screamed as he reeled back his fist. Issei thrusted his fist forward, but it was met by a large golden shield made of magic energy, but Issei wouldn't let this stop him. Hiya. He pushed harder and the shield began to crack, but before Issei could break through completely, an electric shock surged through his body with enough force to send him flying away. Ah. Yeah. That hurt, Issei thought as he caught himself on the ground. He then began to dodge a barrage of lightning bolts, remaining on the defensive as he planned out his next move. Crap. She's a really bad matchup for me. She can attack from a distance, and I can't get close fast enough to attack. Issei began to smile. Well, partner, there's always that, Drake said in a suggestive tone. No way, I'm just starting to enjoy myself. But I do have an idea. Yeah. Issei once again began to scream. Boost. 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 Ha. Issei slammed his glowing gauntlet into the ground. Explosion. A surge of energy blasted through the ground, causing it to crack apart, and clouds of dust flew out from the cracks into the air. What? I can't see. Akeno covered her eyes as she was surrounded by dust clouds. Focus, Akeno, you can sense his energy if you focus. Akeno closed her eyes and focused, but the second she felt something, she opened her eyes in shock. Ah. Before she could even move, Issei had jumped up and planted his knee in her back, knocking her out of the air. So you can sense my energy? Issei called out from the dark clouds. Akeno closed her eyes and was able to visualize a silhouette of Issei standing in front of her. I'll have to do something about that. Transfer. Issei's gauntlet called out and the floor beneath began to glow green, and the silhouette of Issei disappeared, leaving just a cloudy picture. What? His energy signature is everywhere. Akeno opened her eyes and scanned everywhere but couldn't see Issei, but rather than looking panicked, Akeno curled up into a smile. Well, Issei, if you aren't gonna play fair, then I refuse to play. Akeno held her up into the air, and a small ball of wind began to form in it. Soon the wind grew stronger and stronger until it began to suck up the dust clouds, forming a massive spherical dust storm in the girl's hand, roughly the size of a minivan. What the hell? Issei, who was now standing in the middle of a barren battlefield, looked up at the massive swirling dust in awe. How did you do that? Now Issei, don't tell me that in all your battles you've never come across elemental magic. Akeno taunted the confused boy. You should really learn to clean up your messes. The devil chuckled as she hurled a dust storm at Issei. Issei, rather than dodging, slammed his fist into the massive sphere trying to block it. The winds were spinning so fast that sparks began to fly off from his gauntlet. Gahe. Issei exclaimed as he struggled to keep the sphere making contact with his flesh. By using as much strength as he could muster, he managed to fling the ball over his head and behind him. Bravo, Issei. Akeno said with a clap. See, I told you this would be fun, but unfortunately I think it's time to end it. Akeno sounded as upbeat as ever, even while threatening. She then pointed to the space of air over Issei's head, and when the now exhausted boy looked up, he saw a massive yellow magic circle floating over his head. Before he even had time to move, a massive blast of lightning rained down on top of him. GGGG. Issei screamed in pain. It's lucky he had boosted so many times, or else the sheer force of the attack would have probably ripped his body in half, but somehow he managed to make a fist with his gauntlet, showing his determination to keep fighting. Issei, it's time to give up. Even if you die, Rias could still make you a devil, but I'd rather not kill you because I want us to be friends. It would be pretty awkward if I killed you. Akeno wasn't teasing this time, but Issei kept fighting. Eahe. Issei continued to scream until finally he released his grip and Akeno stopped the attack, letting the beaten boy drop to his knees in exhaustion. His body was covered in bruises and was still smoking from the lightning. Akeno made her way over to the boy, smiling as always. That really was a good fight, Issei. I hope you had as much fun as I did. Sorry I got a bit intense there at the end. Akeno held out a hand to help the boy up, but Issei was a bit too preoccupied to take it. One hit, the boy said softly to himself, as stared down at the ground. I only got one hit in the whole battle. After a bit more recovery time, Issei began to smile to the self-satisfied smile. Awesome. He then took the devil's hand and was helped back to his feet. All the lightning made his legs a little wobbly. You totally beat me, but don't think it's over yet. I'm gonna be coming for a rematch soon, so you better be ready. Akeno nearly laughed out loud, but managed to contain herself. You're a strange one, burnt and bruised but already planning your next fight. I'll take you on whenever you want. Issei looked back over his shoulder, a stupid grin still sprawled out across his face. Well, a deal's a deal, Rias, or I guess it's but you now. I'm all yours now. Maybe this whole devil thing will be more fun than I thought. Rias looked back at the boy and now she too was smiling. Welcome to the family, you won't regret this. I can promise you that. I think you might be right, Issei said, still smiling before his face planted into the ground and went out cold. Later. Issei sat up on a familiar red couch in the orc clubroom. His body ached to move, but he was able to manage. By the time he sat up, he realized he was missing his shirt and it had been replaced by medical bandages. Crap, I really did get my shit kicked in. It's gotta be pretty rough for you right now, but unfortunately they don't make ice packs for ego. Rias taunted from her large wooden desk at the back of the dark room. But really it is impressive, there's only so much damage the human body can take. A lightning bolt would usually kill most people, even those gifted with sacred gears. Do you guys just not believe in light switches or something? Issei said as looked around the room. I have a question. Rias brushed off Issei's comment and cut to the point. You got beat badly yesterday. Wait. Yesterday Issei's eyes bulged with shock. How long have I been out? 17 hours, back to what I was saying. Rias glared at the boy, letting him know that she didn't need any more interruptions. You got beaten by Akeno after believing you were the strongest around for so long. It should be a big shock to your psyche, most prideful people who get embarrassed like that would be devastated. But after the fight you were smiling, even when you fainted there was a big goofy grin plastered on your face. Why? Issei took a few seconds to properly think about the question before answering. Let me ask you something, between you and Akeno, who's stronger? It's a close one, but I'd say right now I'm more powerful of the two of us. Rias answered, playing along. I thought so, and are you the most powerful devil you know? Issei asked as he stood up, wincing in pain while doing so. I'm not. Rias lifted an eyebrow, not really knowing where Issei was going from this. I'm fairly powerful for my age, but there are plenty of devils stronger than me. Issei began to smile again, his face looked absolutely giddy. That's why I'm so excited. In Kyoto the gods and powerful spirits carry away a lot of outside conflict, so most of the supernatural population is weak and they really aren't interested in fighting. There were always a few troublemakers, but they were never really that strong. But with this devil stuff, I realized almost immediately how out of my league I was. I hate to lose, but losing is important for growth, at least that's what my martial arts teachers would always tell me. I started to think that I had reached my limit, but now I know that I have plenty of growth left as a warrior. Growth as a warrior? Rias shook her head. Seriously, Issei, do you think about anything else other than fighting? When we're just talking like this you don't come across to me as a violent person, don't you have any other interests? Other interests? Issei raised an eyebrow. Like what do you mean? Never mind. Rias pulled a small bag out of her desk drawer and made her way over to Issei. Let's get started on the ritual. What do you mean ritual? Issei's eyes followed Rias as she opened the bag and emptied its contents onto the small coffee table. Red chess pieces fell onto the small table. Well, I'm gonna make you a devil, silly. We made a deal, remember, you aren't getting out of this that easily. Rias said in a very cocky voice as she fiddled with the chess pieces. After watching your fight, I'm thinking of making you a pawn. You don't really need a boost in physical strength or speed, and magic really isn't really your specialty. The pawn using the promotion technique can access the characteristics of all the other pieces, and I think that suits you best. Yeah, that's fine. I made a promise and am a man of my word, but that's not the problem. Issei said nervously, implying that there was a problem. Rias looked up. What do you mean? Issei started to sweat. Well, I don't really like magic. What? Rias was only getting more confused as the conversation continued. Look, I get it, it's embarrassing, okay. Issei got defensive and began to blush. It just makes me feel queasy. I've had a spell or two cast on me, and I always feel slimy and dizzy, and it hurts, okay. Are you serious? Rias looked back with a dead expression. You just got blasted by millions of volts of magic lightning and took it with a smile, but normal magic is not okay with you. Look, that's different, okay. The magic changed into real lightning, it was just straight weird magic power. Why didn't you just do the ritual when I was out cold? Issei grabbed his shoulders and shook, the thought of the magic ritual. Who do you think I am? I wouldn't transform you without knowledge, unless you were dead. That's how you get sued. Rias argued. Look, you're gonna have to get over it. You won't be able to fight all those strong devils you were talking about. Issei remained silent, mulling things over for a moment. Is it gonna hurt? Issei asked like a kid getting a shot from his doctor. I promise it won't hurt. Rias made a kind face and eventually convinced Issei to cooperate. Issei lay down on the ground as the magic circle glowed a faint red beneath him. Rias knelt above him holding the red pawn piece in her hand. Alright, here I go. Rias let go of the piece and it gently floated downwards. It began to glow as it got closer to Issei's chest. Slowly the pawn piece faded into the boy's chest. Ouch. That hurt. Issei looked up at Rias with tears in his eyes. You lied to me. Rias didn't answer but looked concerned about something. Just as I thought, one piece wasn't gonna be enough. Looks like we'll have to try again. Are you ready for Issei? I think I'm gonna puke. Issei looked green. Okay, let's do this. The devil girl smiled and pulled another pawn piece out of her bag. Later, on the way back to Issei's house. By the time Ria's ritual had ended and Issei was permitted to leave, it had turned to night. The day after, Issei had initially arrived at Ria's club. He looked down at his hand while he walked down the empty sidewalk. So this is what being a devil feels like. It's really not that different. Issei looked up at the full yellow moon floating overhead. It kinda feels like I'm using Ria's and her club. I don't really care about the culture or the politics or whatever. I'm only doing this to make myself stronger, but I suppose it's in a devil's nature to be selfish. Well, I'm glad you're excited. Drake's familiar voice rang through Issei's head. But something is bothering me. You totally would have won that fight if you had listened to me. Not this again. Issei rolled his eyes. You need to start training your balance breaker. How are you supposed to improve if you refuse to fight it to your strongest? We don't know the limitation of that form yet, so you don't yet know the areas where you need to improve. Like any technique, the balance breaker needs training to be perfected. I think you should fly the rest of the way home. Fine. Issei answered aloud, frustrated by the dragon's nagging. If it'll get you off my case. Issei summoned the gauntlet in a flash of red light. Boost, 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 boost. Issei finished power up and lifted his gauntlet into the air. Balance break. Issei yelled and his gauntlet flashed a green light, but it faded and nothing happened. Huh. Balance break, balance break. Please balance break. Issei tried a few more times, but nothing happened. Oh. Clash. Clang. The sound of steel hitting steel rang through the wooded area as Kiba's blade made contact with Issei's gauntlet. Whoosh. The two boys disappeared from sight. They moved too fast to be seen. Whoosh. 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 Twin blurs danced across the forest floor. Occasionally they'd collide, but that would only last a split second before breaking off again. This went on for a few more seconds, and so far the scuffle appeared to be a stalemate. Alright, that's enough for today. Rias called out in a satisfied voice, getting the two to stop in the middle of their battle. Thank you for your help, Kiba. Rias smiled as her knight bowed and dismissed himself, leaving Issei alone, who fidgeted in frustration and boredom as he didn't get to finish his fight. I'm very impressed by you, Issei. Rias continued. Even though it's only been a week, you seem to have taken to your new abilities like a natural. It seems like you have your knight promotion nearly mastered. Thanks. Issei smiled back. But it really isn't that hard. Issei quickly undermined his previous politeness. I thought this devil thing would be hard, but check this out. Issei snapped his fingers and a red magic circle opened beneath his feet. Using the circle he disappeared and then appeared behind Rias. Magic. Rias rolled her eyes before turning to face him. Anyway, I think it's as good a time as any for you to begin your devil work. Rias smirked. Issei blinked twice at this. My devil what? Later that evening. Well, that was disappointing, Issei said. No one in particular, as he left the site of his first job. To be fair, if I was expecting cute little Kaneko and some dude showed up, I'd feel ripped off too. Oh well, I'll just have to try harder next time. Issei clenched his fist in determination. I hate to be the one to say it, partner, but I don't know that our skill set is exactly suited for the service industry. Drake chimed in with his 2 cents. Nah, I figured it all out. Issei smirked. All we gotta do is market ourselves to all the losers and nerds getting picked on, then we can kick the crap out of their bullies. That sounds like a hitman to me, Drake replied disapprovingly. Exactly, we'll hit them. Issei continued down the dark streets until he passed a massive man standing by a lamppost wearing a fedora and trench coat, and his nose picked up. He turned and looked at the giant. Hey, fallen angel. The stranger seemed to jump under his coat. I don't want to assume things, but are you here to kill me? Heh. The strange man couldn't help but chuckle. So I guess you're that dragon punker, I guess devil punk now. Anyway, you're the one who kicked the crap out of my boss. Thanks to you, she's been a mega bitch recently. My name is Dona, by the way. Issei hi do. Issei answered as he summoned his crimson gauntlet. Just curious, but Raynare hasn't gotten any stronger since I last met her, has she? Oh yeah, she's been training her body as well as her magic power ever since her injuries healed. She's probably twice as strong as she was when you two fought last. Dona indulged the boy as his 2 raven-like wings sprouted from his back. She's pretty hell-bent on destroying you herself, but I don't know that she'll get the chance. A blue light spear formed in the fallen angel's hand. I'll be honest, becoming a devil is not your smartest move. Dona called out as he flung the glowing lance at the boy. Issei simply backhanded the spear with his dragon gauntlet, easily knocking it away. You may be right, but so far I'm not regretting it. GGRRR. Well, let's see how you deal with this. With a strong flap of his wings, the muscular angel was airborne and began to throw down a barrage of light spears 2 at a time. Issei dodged the oncoming attack with ease, jumping out of the way of spear after spear, buying time as he boosted. Boost. Boost. One good thing about being a devil is that the playing field is a bit more even now when it comes to you winged guys. Issei said as twin bat wings sprouted from his back and he took off into the sky after the fallen angel. Wham. Issei moved too fast for Dona to counter and quickly slammed his fist into the angel's chin, knocking him off guard and breaking his nose. With a mid-air spin, Issei hit Dona with a spin kick, knocking him to the ground. Yah. The fallen angel cried out as he went crashing down into the dirt. Wham. Dona smacked down into the pavement. Issei turned towards him in the air and lifted his gauntlet at him. Dragon shot. Issei fired an energy blast directly at the grounded angel, creating a large explosion. Ayaha. Dona yelled and winced as the explosion dissipated. His body was bruised and broken as he tried to sit up in the crater that Issei had put him in. Damn. What the hell are ah? Before he could finish, Issei dropped down from over 100 feet and drove his knee into the man's stomach. Issei jumped back to create some distance between him and his opponent. Come on. Is that the best you got? Issei called out in an attempt to get a bit of banter going, but there was no answer. Dona didn't even move. Issei slowly walked over to his opponent, but when he got there the fallen angel's eyes were completely white and he had lost consciousness. I guess that was the best he had, oh well. Issei walked over to a metal fence and ripped a patch of chain links off. Using the metal net he wrapped the fallen angel's body up like a cocoon. Explosion. Transfer. Issei's metal net now began to glow red, now enhanced with magic power. That should do it. Issei commented, cleaning off his hands. Wait. Issei suddenly had an idea as he pulled a piece of paper out of his pocket. Later. I found him. A blue-haired fallen angel wearing a red outfit called out as she flew above the cocoon Dona. She as well as Raynare and a smaller fallen angel with blonde hair and dressed up like a maid landed a few feet in front of him. Their comrade had yet to regain consciousness. Raynare was the first to approach the chained man as she noticed a small piece of paper lying on top of her associate. She picked it up, unfolded it and read. Kanji scribbled in red ink read, "Stop boring me." Raynare bit down hard on her tongue as she crumpled up the paper into a ball and threw it aside. I'm gonna fucking kill him. The next day, after school. Issei slowly made his way to the orc clubroom. His bag slung over his shoulder behind his back and he was walking with eyes closed. When he finally decided to look where he was going he saw Kaneko standing in front of the entrance and the door behind her was closed. Issei approached the small girl in an attempt to determine why she was standing where she was, but the younger devil was the first to speak. Rias has some business to deal with today, no club meeting. The white-haired girl was straight to the point. Oh, okay. Issei didn't question it, partially because he didn't really need to know anymore. I guess we have a day off. Issei said to someone, it wasn't clear if he was talking to Drake or Kaneko. He simply turned around and began his trek home. Before long Issei came across a turn in the road, taking a left would bring him straight home, but he chose to go right. Partner, where are we going? Drake asked, confused by the boy's sudden change in plans. The sun is shining, there's a nice breeze today. It would be a waste not to take some time to enjoy the day outside. I think I'm gonna take the long way home. Issei smiled, letting his messy brown locks dance in the breeze as the rays of sun gently touched his skin. Receiving no complaint from the heavenly dragon, Issei continued on his way. He had been strolling for about half an hour when he came across an interesting scene at a small public clearing. A young girl in nun's clothes looked to be panicking in a crowd of passing people. Excuse me. Pardon me. Can you please help me? The nervous girl tried her best to ask a number of passers-by for help, but none of them even bothered with the time of day. Issei looked on at the scene unfolding, not a hint of sympathy in his eyes. Looks like she can't speak Japanese, guess those geniuses in Rome are at it again, sending an Italian nun to the middle of Nowheresville, Japan. Maybe they were too preoccupied by finding new ways to undermine people who don't share their high and mighty values, or maybe they were preoccupied with altar boys. Issei rolled his eyes. And my afternoon is ruined, time to go home. Issei turned to leave, but before he could. Wah. The blonde nun tripped on a crack in the pavement and fell face first. Rather than stopping to help, people simply ignored her and in a mixture of frustration and embarrassment, the girl started to tear up. This is just pathetic. Issei rolled his eyes and against his better judgment, approached the girl. Good job, partner. Very gentlemanly of you. The ancient dragon sounded proud, but it didn't answer. Hey. Issei called down to the girl and her ears perked up, surprised by the sound of a voice she could understand. Are you okay? Issei continued, not really putting his heart into the nice act. Asia managed to stop crying, she turned around on the ground and looked up to find a hand held out for her. Cautiously she took his hand and was helped to her feet. Thank you. Don't mention it. Issei turned around as if he was prepared to leave with just that, wiping the hand that helped the girl up on his jacket. Wait. The girl called back desperately, getting Issei to stop in his tracks, but not without making a face. He eventually turned back around to hear the girl out. I'm sorry, I don't mean to impose, it's just that you are the only person in this town that I've met so far that speaks Italian. The problem is that I'm new in town and I seem to have gotten myself lost. I'm looking for a local Catholic church. I don't suppose you would help me. This sounds familiar, Issei thought with another eye roll. I don't know my partner, I'm not getting a malicious feeling from this girl. Drake said, managing to get Issei to make less of a sour face, just barely. And even if she does mean to harm you, do you think she could? I guess you're right, but I better be getting a gallon of good karma for this. Issei eventually gave in and answered the girl. Yeah, I'll help you. My name is Issei Haidu. It's nice to meet you, Issei, I'm Asia Argento. The young nun said with a bright smile. Later. Issei and Asia had been walking for some time at this point, and the young girl desperately tried to make small talk, but every question was either met with a short abrasive answer or ignored entirely. Eventually the girl decided to confront Issei on his aloof and rude behavior. Excuse me, Mr. Issei, I don't mean to pry, but could it be that you have something against me? He looked back over his shoulder to see the poor girl fidgeting with discomfort. She tried to keep a plain face, but she was clearly troubled. Damn it, Issei, way to be a dick. She has done nothing but act friendly since we met. I should try to return the favor. Issei shook his head, trying to clear out some of his negativity. No, I don't have anything against you in particular. Please forgive the way I've been acting. Oh, it's fine. I guess I'm already relying on you for help and you took the time out of your day to do so. I'm asking so much of you, it must get on your nerves. Asia looked down in sorrow. I'm sorry, I've been such a burden to you. No, that's not it, I promise. Issei started to feel even guiltier. I'm the one in the wrong, so I apologize. How about we start over and be friends? Issei said with a scratch on his back and toothy grin. Yeah, Asia looked back at the boy, it was the first time she'd seen a guy her age smile. His green eyes sparkled and made it hard for the girl to look away. She began to blush. That sounds nice. The two continued walking, but now the atmosphere was much friendlier. They talked a bit more openly as they strolled down some grassy backroads. Eventually they came across a small park where children had been playing, but an accident had occurred. One of the boys who had been playing soccer fell, causing him to cut his knee. Wahh. The boy cried out in pain. Without saying a word, Asia rushed to the boy's side. Hey, cheer up. Boys shouldn't cry. The twin rings on the girl's hand began to glow. A bright green healing light began to cascade over the boy's injury, and soon he stopped crying. A sacred gear? Issei marveled at the vibrant green glow. Drake, do you recognize it? Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it's called the Twilight Healing. A power healing type gear, very rare. Drake explained telepathically. Incredible. Issei watched in awe as Asia used her power to heal the boy. After that he took her as close to the church as his body would let him before saying his goodbyes, and the two went their separate ways, both hoping they'd meet again somehow. The next day. The following day went by like any other. Issei went to class and then to the clubhouse after school. But throughout the day, at school and at the orc, he was pretty distant and didn't say or do much. He spent most of the day in his thoughts, and most of his thoughts were filled with Asia. Why can't I get her out of my head? It doesn't make sense. I get that she was cute and nice and all that good stuff. But there's something else. Issei stared out one of the stained glass windows, too preoccupied by his thoughts to notice a certain red-haired devil sneak up behind him. Are you still thinking about that nun? Rias whispered into the boy's ear, knowing it would get a reaction out of her servant. Wah. Issei stood straight up in shock. How do you know about Asia? He said, still startled. Oh Issei, I'm your master. I know everything about you. She smiled almost creepily. So her name's Asia. Issei, this is partially my fault because I haven't filled you in on the way things are yet, but you have to be more careful around members of the church, even the ones who seem really nice. Things are unstable between us and them right now, and the slightest push could lead to war. Keep that in mind. Rias warned, and Issei nodded. But Rias wasn't done yet. The devil girl wrapped her arms around Issei's neck and draped her body across his back. Squeezing him tightly made him too feared to speak. There's one more thing. She whispered into his ear, so close that she tickled his skin as she spoke. Issei is an important member of my family and I cherish him dearly. But the love between master and servant is supposed to work both ways, meaning I am supposed to be the most important woman in Issei's life. You understand? Issei slowly nodded. Good, please don't think poorly of me, but I don't want you seeing that nun anymore, it's not safe. Why yeah, Issei answered. Rias is right, Asia probably wouldn't be so friendly if she knew I was a devil. It probably would be better if I left her alone. Good. Rias let go of the boy whose face was now the color of a tomato. Now that that's settled, I have another job ready for you. Rias smiled as she handed the boy a piece of paper with an address on it. A job? Issei answered slowly, still getting over the sensation of his master pressing her body against his. Yeah, I'll get right on it. Issei's focus was quick to return as a glowing magic circle opened beneath his feet before he disappeared from sight. Rias looked on where the boy had been and let out a small sigh. Oh my. Akeno called out from behind the redhead. Don't you think that was a bit much? You've always been possessive, but if you're that clingy you'll scare the boys away. Akeno said with a smile. Rias didn't say anything, she simply looked down at an ordinary white pawn piece that she had been fiddling with. I don't care. He's my Issei. Whoosh. A bright red magic circle appeared on a quiet sidewalk and from it, Issei emerged. He looked down at the paper Rias had given him with the address written on it. Well, this is the place. Issei said looking up at the house. It was a normal looking house, but all the lights were turned off. Okay, already suspicious. It's only like 9 o'clock and they were expecting me. This feels like a trap. I agree, do you think we should contact your master? Drake asked as the boy slowly approached the dark house. Nah, I'm sure whatever it is I can handle. If they were that powerful, why would they need to set a trap? Issei opened the door and a coldness quickly overcame him and a foul, ironic smell entered his nose. Blood. Issei closed the door behind him slowly and quietly. Issei takes a few more whiffs of the sour air. His sense was always stronger than a normal human, but after becoming a devil, it had been heightened even further. Issei followed his nose down a dark hallway until he came across an ominous-looking closet that seemed to be the center of the foul odor. He slowly began to open the door, knowing that whatever it was couldn't be good, but reality was worse than he could possibly imagine. Inside the closet were 2 mutilated corpses, heads and limbs removed from shredded torsos. The sight alone could make a person throw up, and that's not factoring in the smell, and throwing up is exactly what Issei did. ACKK. Yuck. Issei wiped his mouth clean. Issei immediately slammed the closet door shut as hard as he could, no longer worrying about being stealthy. My god. They're dead, not only that they were fucking mutilated. What kind of sick fuck could have done something like this? That's disgusting, they were just regular people. Just an ordinary man and woman. Whoever did this is going to pay. Issei fought back some tears as he clenched his shaking fist. He was angry, but more than that he was scared. Scared to meet whoever was deranged enough to do something like that to a person. Alright. Who did this? Issei's voice cracked as he called out through the house. Oh, there you are, the devil. Come on, I'm in the living room. I've been waiting all night for you to show up. A strange, almost voice called out from further down the hallway. Issei preemptively summoned his boosted gear and cautiously shuffled down the dark corridor. At the end of the hallway was a living room decorated with a sofa and lavesiette. The room was dark, lit only by a small table side lamp, making it hard for a normal man to see, but Issei could see perfectly. A man sat at the love seat staring at Issei. He wore a priest's robes but looked to be in his early to mid-20s. He had pale blonde hair that reached down to his shoulders and a huge toothy grin sprawled across. No, Issei growled as he began to grit his teeth. Seeing that the man behind the mutilation was a priest, a man of God, it made Issei's blood boil. The fear he felt earlier was gone, replaced with even more rage. Aw, did the little devil not like the welcoming gift I left for him? The grinning priest taunted. I thought a little hellspawn like you would feel a little more at home, ha 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 ha. Why? Issei asked, his eyes were overshadowed by his hair and his face was absent of all emotion. They were just normal innocent people. BFFFFTTTT. Innocent. That's a pretty good one. I can't tell what's funnier, a sympathetic devil or the notion that those people were anything but trash. They were a bunch of damn devil worshippers. If anything, I did them a favor ending their worthless sinful lives. The violent priest stood up and pulled a small metal stick out of his pocket and suddenly a blade made out of light erupted out from it. But if you really feel that bad, then I can make arrangements for you to see them. This bastard. He talks about sin yet he can sit there with a smile on his face after he ripped that couple to shreds. This guy is a monster. Issei began to shake again, but he wasn't afraid anymore. Issei. You need to calm down. Your anger is getting out of hand, your power is fluctuating rapidly, this is dangerous. Drake tried to warn, but at this point Issei couldn't hear him. Issei's green eyes began to darken, becoming a deep brown, almost maroon. Why does he get to decide who lives and dies? Those people deserve vengeance. This is justice, I'll destroy him. We'll kill him. Issei screamed in his mind as his eyes began to glow a deep bloody red. Oh no, he's shaking. Did I scare the little devil? The demented priest asked before letting out a loud cackle. Hey. What's your name? Issei asked in an altered voice, like his voice was layered over a woman's, giving the priest chills. Freed Selzen, the priest answered nervously, too afraid to refuse. Neat voice trick. How are you doing that? He managed to regain a bit of composure. Freed Selzen, we will crush you. Explosion. Issei's sacred gear exploded with energy, without even boosting a single time. Where the traditional color of the energy wave would be a bright green, this time it was the same deep blood red as the boy's eyes. The energy surge shattered all the glass in the building, including the windows and the lamp, eliminating all light from the room, except for the faint blue glow given off by Freed's sword. Ha! Nice trick, but don't think you'll intimidate me like that. Freed sliced at the space where Issei had been standing previously, but there was nothing there. Come out. Come out. Wherever you are. As he called out, two burn red spheres opened in front of him. There you are. Before he could finish, Issei's normal fist was plunged into the priest's stomach before the boy pulled back. Ouch. What the fuck? That's it, you're dead. Freed lifted his blade above his head and prepared to chop downwards, but Issei moved again before he could. He smashes the priest's face with a powerful uppercut using his gauntlet. The dragon's fist crushed the man's face, breaking his nose, causing his face to bleed. Before Freed could fall to his feet, Issei grabbed the priest's neck and lifted him up over his head as he began to squeeze down on his jugular. KKKKACC. The priest struggled for air as Issei remained silent, simply staring at his eyes, even though they were a hot burning red and looked cold and lifeless. Issei began to grow impatient. Rather than waiting for him to suffocate, Issei began to squeeze harder, planning to break his neck, but before he could finish the job, a door at the other end of the living room slowly opened up, and out from it came a sheepish-looking nun with familiar blonde hair and green eyes. Freed-sama, is everything alright? It felt like an earthquake just happened. Asia's eyes grew wide as she saw her fellow church member being strangled by a dark silhouette with glowing red eyes. Asia, what the hell is she doing here? Issei thought as he tossed the barely alive Freed to the ground. That dick. He must have dragged Asia into this mess. Look at her, she must be terrified. Issei walked towards her, his face still emotionless and his eyes still the same piercing red. Issei? Asia focused and she managed to make out her boy's face. Issei, it's you, thank God. Those people killed them. I tried to stop him but he wouldn't listen. I'm scared, I don't want to be here anymore. Can you take me with you? Asia begged. Liar. Issei's thoughts rang out in his head because they were much more aggressive than usual. What? Why would I think that? Issei thought back to himself. She's with the evil priest, she killed those people. No. Asia is my friend, she wouldn't do something like that. How could I even think of something like that? She's a murderer. We have to make sure she can't hurt anyone else. She would never hurt anyone anyways, she's a good person. She's just another one of those. She is our enemy and we must destroy her. No. No. These aren't my thoughts, something is wrong. What's going on? Issei realized too late that his body and mind were no longer his to control. Issei? Are you okay? Asia stepped back away from her friend. She looked up to see the boy's friendly green eyes were gone, replaced with his piercing red stare. What's going on? Issei, without saying a word, raised his gauntlet in the air, creating a veil of crimson aura around his sacred gear. No. Issei screamed telepathically but was powerless to stop what was going to happen. Using his gauntlet, Issei chopped diagonally in the air, creating a gust of wind so powerful it became like a blade made of air. AHHH. The blade cut through some of Asia's clothing and knocked her against the wall. Issei, why? Issei didn't answer, but with another swipe of his gauntlet, he created another wind blade. Ah. She was struck again, ripping through more clothing. Stop. Issei called out, but his body didn't listen, attacking again. AHHH. Stop it. Ah. Please stop. Why? Asia dropped to the ground, her clothes had been reduced to ribbon, leaving most of her body bare. Issei extended his gauntlet forward and a small energy ball began to form in his palm. Die witch. Crap. Come on Issei, think that's it. Issei thought as he began to create a magic circle beneath him. I lost control of my body and sacred gear, but like Akeno taught me, magic is spiritual, not physical. Suddenly a powerful jolt of electricity surged from the magic circle and began to shock Issei's body. Aya. Issei's body cried out in pain. The electricity made Issei's muscles contract and forced Issei to extend his bat wings. Ah devil, Asia said weakly before falling unconscious. Ayahe. Issei's voice began to return to normal, and his eyes slowly changed from red back to their traditional green, and the red glow coming from the gem on Issei's gauntlet died, leaving it a dark green sphere. Issei stopped the lightning spell and fell to the ground. Asia, I'm so sorry, and with that the boy blacked out. Later. Asia. Issei screamed as quickly sat up, but he was no longer at the dark house with Asia and Freed. Rather, the boy found himself wrapped in the warm familiar blankets of his own bed, lacking any clothing. What the hell? How did I get back home? Issei was understandably making a lot of noise in this state of confusion, but unfortunately this stirred the body next to him from their slumber. Issei. The stranger with a clearly feminine voice mumbled. Then the sheets covering her began to move and a familiar Reed sat in the bed, also lacking clothing. Whoa. What's going on? Issei quickly scooted away from the girl, his face burning a deep crimson blush. Why are you sleeping with me? Where are your clothes? Where are my clothes? Issei. Once Rias had woken up enough, she pounced on top of the boy with tears in her eyes and still without any clothing. Thank goodness you're alright. Yeah. Issei's voice cracked. Maybe let go now. Smack. Rias reeled back and struck the brown-haired devil across the face, catching him off guard and leaving a red mark on his cheek. You idiot. You're not invincible, you know. Exorcists kill devils, that's their job. You can't just take on 2 of them by yourself, regardless of how strong you are. You understand me? Issei looked back at his master, putting his hand where Rias had hit him. It didn't hurt, but it stung. She's seriously upset and I don't blame her, that was really stupid of me. Issei lowered his head, unable to look Rias in the eyes. Sorry Prez, that's my bad. HMPH. Rias seemed unsatisfied with that answer, but she accepted it regardless. Well, I hope you've learned your lesson, now get some sleep. Rias, who was still upset with the boy, pulled away the warm comforter from Issei's bed and rolled up in it, leaving Issei with just sheets. Wait, you're not going home? She's gonna sleep here. Issei sat there silently, his libido and better judgment battling it out in his head, eventually his sense of reason won out. I think I'll sleep somewhere else. Issei quickly put on a pair of pajamas before ever so slowly and quietly, he crept out of his bedroom and down the hallway to one of the guest rooms a little ways down the hall. He plopped down on the undressed bed, no pillow or cover, and Issei was understandably restless. He looked up at the dark ceiling overhead as his mind ran wild. Hey Drake, you've been pretty quiet since I woke up. Anything on your mind? I'm guessing you know what that was, that voice that made me do those things. When I lost control. Issei lifted up his hand and a small green jewel formed out of his skin and began to glow. Yes, I do know what caused you to go berserk. A sickness cast upon the sacred gear, a curse. It's a state fueled by rage that increases the user's battle power, but forces them to give in to their worst impulses. The form is fed by rage but is never satisfied, so it convinces the host to make more food by invoking more of the user's rage. The dragon explained. Issei sat up, still looking down at his hand. Increases battle power at the cost of the user's sense of reason, doesn't that sound like a juggernaut drive? Drake finished. Yes, they both share a lot of characteristics, but they are not one and the same. This particular state is dubbed the dominating fury because unlike the juggernaut drive where the user loses all sense of self and goes berserk, this state simply amplifies and focuses rage until everything else becomes cloudy and all that's left is red. Whoa, that sounds scary. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I neglected to tell you because the form is rare, only one other host has ever had access to it in the centuries since I was sealed away. Most hosts can't produce enough pure anger to trigger the transformation, they would simply access the juggernaut drive and probably die, but pure rage alone can't activate the curse. As a fail-safe, the juggernaut drive can't be activated by a single emotion unless the user performs the chant intentionally, usually it takes a plethora of emotions like rage and sorrow and fear to activate. But if the user's pure rage becomes powerful enough, the sacred gear will react and you just experienced the reaction firsthand. But consider this a learning experience now that you know the dangers of emotion, you must learn to control them. Rage isn't necessarily a bad thing, nor is any emotion used properly. They can be powerful tools and they are the key to your growth. Issei stared down at his fist, taking a second to think before he answered. You're right, tonight proves more than anything that there's a lot I've got to learn. As the Red Dragon Emperor and as a devil. I promise I won't let you or Rias down. Nice to see your determination hasn't taken much of a hit, but you should probably get some sleep, even if you do have a day off tomorrow. Drake scolded like a parent and Issei did as instructed, closing his eyes and trying his best to fall asleep, and eventually his efforts paid off. The next morning. Issei's emerald eyes blinked open as the strange sound woke him. He then noticed the white comforter off of his bed was draped across his body, and a strange texture both very soft and extremely smooth had enveloped his right arm. Nervously he looked over to his side to find a snoring Rias lying next to him. Issei jumped so far that he landed hard on his butt on the bedroom floor. Why? Issei asked as he rubbed his injured bottom. Oh, Issei. Is it morning already? Rias sat up in the bed as she rubbed the sleep from her eyes. You sure are energetic this early. Why did you sneak into my bed again? Issei cut straight to the point. I don't know about you Issei, but I'm pretty hungry. I think I'll go get breakfast started. Rias dodged the question before quickly fleeing the room without putting on any clothing. All of a sudden I've got a major headache, Issei sighed before standing up. I wonder what's in store for me today. Probably just more of the same, so boring. Thanks for watching this video. If you really enjoy this video, like, subscribe and comment down below and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow the JCT1345 for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.